Unhinged right-wing revenge fantasy. Apparently, that means good entertainment by 2022 standards if you're listening to these garbage tier websites that have political activists running them and crying and whining about anything and everything that doesn't line up with exactly what they want. But Chris Pratt's The Terminal List is fantastic. I watched the entire series. I finished it late last night, and I highly recommend it to anyone out there that's looking for good entertainment with good directing and good acting and emotional beats and twists and turns and leaves you confused when you're halfway through the story, only to then give you more clarity, then to throw some more things at you to keep you engaged. It's really, really good. It's excellent. And I couldn't believe how good it was. I took the recommendation from Ryan from RK Outpost and Geeks and Gamers. And so when he told me how much he was enjoying it, I was like, well, this sounds really cool. And I like Chris Pratt. Now, as Ryan has said, you know, he told me before I saw it, he's like, this is like next level acting for Chris Pratt. And as I've said, I'm a big fan of Chris Pratt. I've never walked away from one of his films going, man, that was like a Denzel Washington level performance. But Chris Pratt crushed it in this series, and he had to. This couldn't be fun-loving, joking, you know, Chris Pratt. This had to be like a next level, and it was. And Taylor Kitsch is in the show as well, and I like Taylor Kitsch a lot. I think Taylor Kitsch has had a lot of, you know, movies that didn't play out the way that they could have, and once his career was kind of taking off, but him and Chris Pratt have really good chemistry. There's a lot of good characters in this show. Antoine Fuqua is directing, and I'm a big fan of him. He directed one of my favorite movies, The Equalizer. And so if you're looking for good entertainment, I can't recommend this enough. You have real military people involved with it, so it actually is convincing how they are searching places out and how they're hunting things down. It is so good. But of course, when you get good entertainment, that equals what? That equals an unhinged right-wing revenge fantasy, according to the Daily Beast. Now, this is over on Abounding in the Comics, and we know this happens all the time. Do I think that the critics just flat out hate Chris Pratt? Clearly, they don't. There's a lot of movies that Chris Pratt has done that they very much love, but a lot of those movies are tied to things like the MCU and stuff like that. But they clearly have an issue when something doesn't line up with their world narrative. Now, again, if this series, The Terminal List, was just all about pushing right-wing politics and nonsense, then I would have the same problem with that as I do with the left-wing stuff. This series was there to tell you a story. That's it. And it does tell you a damn good story. And Chris Pratt sells it like he's never sold a role before, in my opinion. But not only him, but so many of the other supporting characters and the storytelling and the writing and everything, the way it's shot. Everything works about this series. Everything. So it says Chris Pratt stars in The Terminal List, which is now streaming on Amazon Prime Video. And the Daily Beast is freaking out about the military thriller's politically incorrect plot and villains, going so far as to call it an unhinged right-wing revenge fantasy. Now, we continue to see these sites lose their minds over this. And if it's just one site, okay, whatever. It is what it is. But as I tweeted out the other day, I just watched the first episode of The Terminal List, and it's awesome. And then you show the Rotten Tomatoes score of the difference in the audience and the critics. And then that was 4 or 5 days ago. Since then, I've finished the entire series, and the entire series lived up to that first episode. I loved it. I loved everything about it. You go over Rotten Tomatoes, scores dropped even more. It's dropped even more. It's down to 34% and a 91 from the audience. So the audience is still loving it. If you go to the top critics have it at a 20%. A 20%. How the hell are people going to come to the conclusion that this is a 20% when you have things like Ghostbusters 2016 out there? The Last Jedi. But this 20%, something has to be up with that. Again, I'm not saying you have to watch it and think it's the best thing you've ever seen. But I am telling you that it is excellent. It is well shot, well directed, well acting, and it has all of the things that make a good story there. And it's not a perfect series, but what is, and that's the entire point behind it, is that these critics out there are weaponizing everything, and it is just disgusting to see them cry. Now, it says the streaming series is based on Navy veteran Jack Carr's novel of the same name. As I noted a few weeks ago, If the series stays true to the novel, then certain people might not be happy about it. Based on early reviews, it looks like the series may indeed remain relatively faithful to the book. The best example of this so far is the June 29th review from the Daily Beast that proclaimed Chris Pratt's The Terminal List is an unhinged right-wing revenge fantasy. Whenever you read a headline that amazingly frantic, you can only hope that what follows is filled with as much frantic pain. Thankfully, the review does not disappoint. The first line is a doozy that sets the tone. The Terminal List features Chris Pratt going vengefully homicidal due in part to a serious mental condition in Amazon's latest, which follows the tradition of Jack Ryan and Jack Reacher by delivering gung-ho macho action drama tailor-made for 40-something Call of Duty players. Oh my God. This person's so salty. And the next line that finishes out the opening paragraph is just as good. Still, if this adaptation of Jack Carr's novel mostly fits itself into a particular dad entertainment streaming niche, dad entertainment street, good Lord, these people are out of touch with reality. To a large extent, it comes off as a wet dream for militia-minded anti-establishment kooks. What? With a Pratt performance as a Navy SEAL who responds to injustice by murdering the guilty with extreme prejudice. Oh my goodness. Look at all those buzzwords and phrases. Macho, 40-something Call of Duty players, and dad entertainment. And of course, the best one, wet dream for militia-minded anti-establishment kooks. Unbelievable. Not surprising at all. This is the Daily Beast at very best and worst. It's possible to pick out something hysterical in nearly every paragraph, but the last contains one of the best gems. The Terminal List decision to post Reese's Reign of Terror is virtuous is ultimately its defining characteristic, affording a window into a conservative American mindset that views the government as inherently corrupt and anti-soldier, and lone wolf military men as the only figures capable of making the world a more honorable place. What? I have no idea how accurately that sums up the series, but it sure does offer an insight into the author's mindset. So if you want to chuckle, go ahead and read the whole thing. What I'm here to tell you is that the Terminal List does exactly what good entertainment is supposed to do. It's to entertain you. It's to entertain you, and it's to give you a glimpse into the world that the person that we're following is in. And it does open up some important questions from a perspective that we are in a world where soldiers do go to war, and it has an impact on them. And we do have a government. We've always had a government that we've questioned. It's nothing new. We're not breaking any news right now. And it's a story that was an original story created by Jack Carr. An original story. Shockingly enough, it's an original story. You didn't hijack a pre-existing story. You actually created a new story from the ground up, and you told the story that you wanted to. Something Hollywood doesn't have the ability to do. Something Disney doesn't have the ability to do because they're too busy buying up pre-existing properties and then trying to interject their own stuff into pre-existing properties. And apparently that is no problem for the Daily Beast. But oh my goodness, if one man has a story to tell and creates the story from the ground up, so heaven and earth move over because we have to be offended. That's the world we are living in with these nut jobs. Go check out the Terminal List. It is awesome, worth your time. I highly recommend it. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you very much for checking out this video, and we will talk to you later.